This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
Welcome to Outta Pocket with Michael Davis on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. I'm your host, Michael Davis. I'm joined by the host of the Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling podcast you can see on Wednesdays, Mike Mele. I'm joined by Wayne Thomas, an avid Ravens collector. I'm joined by producer Desmond Johnson. We got a big show in store to you today, and the wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of NASCAR, is now live in North Carolina. Now you can legally bet on all your favorite sports anytime, anywhere, right here in North Carolina with DraftKings. For a limited time, new customers who sign up with promo code Tobacco Road and bet $5 will receive $250 instantly in bonus bets. DraftKings has the best features, including same-game parlays, player props, and more with fast and easy payouts right at your fingertips. With the race this Sunday, you can bet on the winner, you can bet on top 3, top 5, however you're feeling. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using code Tobacco Road and bet $5 to get $250 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Tobacco Road. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook/NC. NASCAR is not sponsored this promotion, used under license. Guys, we had quite an eventful day the past 24 hours since we were on last time. You can obviously go back and watch any Outta Pocket episode on demand on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. But yesterday was pretty significant. I got a whole wrestling panel up for today, but we got to get in some big NFL news. The NFL announced some big changes for the season yesterday, including that the hip drop tackle has been banned. I have my own thoughts on this. I've seen a running back season get cut short. That changed the momentum of a playoff game a couple years ago when Tony Pollard got victim to the hip drop tackle and broke his fibula in a playoff game against the 49ers, changed the whole complexion of the game. We've seen several other players get injured by this move. Mike, I'll start with you. What's your initial thoughts after they banned this?
I mean, I feel like every year when in the NFL offseason, there's new rules. There's these rules that are used as the guys under safety. I mean, how are you supposed to tackle, now? Like, I understand it's for the player's safety. I understand players have gotten hurt with this, but I don't feel like this is the thing that players are intentionally doing. They're just trying to tackle. Like, physically, how is it going to be possible to tackle a player now?
And especially when you think about Wayne's team, how do you get Lamar Jackson down? Well, you add Derrick Henry, and then you're like, well, how are you going to get Derrick Henry down, especially with that read option? Wayne, what's your thoughts on them making the move to ban the hip drop tackle?
You already said it, but like I was going to say, as a Ravens fan, I should love the rule because no one's going to be able to get Derrick Henry down without grabbing him by the hips and pulling him down. It's a terrible move, I think. I mean, let the guys play. You know what you're signing up for when you join the NFL. There's going to be some hits. There's going to be some injuries. I tell you what we're going to see more of. We're going to see more injuries to the legs because people are going to be trying to tackle below the hip now and just straight up throw people down like we saw with Hawkinson last year in the Vikings. They're just going to go straight for the legs, not even try to pull down by the hips. I think it's going to be less safe with this rule now.
Wow. Speaking of safety, I mean, a lot of NFL players have spoken up about how the NFL is getting too soft. Des, you've been critical of the Duke team being too soft. Do you think the NFL, a tackling sport, is getting too soft?
A little bit. I mean, we just did Believe in Panthers about 2 hours ago, and Jonathan Stewart was hot about this, and he's an offensive player. He's a running back, and he was like, we're almost going to get to a point where the defender is going to have to ask for consent to tackle the offensive player because literally they've taken out every way you can tackle a guy. So you can only tackle from here down to about the mid-range area, and then you can't do this. And this is with the hip drop tackle, it's a specific type of tackle. It's the swivel hip drop tackle, meaning once they lock onto you, if they swivel left or right to use their body weight to bring you down. That's what they're banning. When I heard it, the very first thing I thought of was the injury that ended Bo Jackson's football career. If you go back and watch the injury, I think they were playing Buffalo. Bo's running down the sideline, and a linebacker grabs him from behind and locks like this, and Bo's still running full speed, and the dude slides down Bo basically to his leg and clamps his left leg, and Bo's running so hard and was just a freak that he ran so hard that his right leg kept going, and he literally pulled it out of the hip socket like himself. Like he ripped his hip socket out because the guy had basically locked his leg on the other side. That's literally that's a hip drop tackle. But they've been doing it since Pee Wee football. It's a part of the game. So I'm not sure how it's going to go. I will say it probably end up being like holding, because refs could call holding on every play if they really wanted to. They'll probably use some discretion here on how they call this. And I think it's a one-year thing where they're looking at it this year. If it don't work out, they might pull it or something to that effect. So I personally don't like it. And everybody I've talked to today so far, they don't like it either. So.
And the NFL Pro Bowl has become more of a flag football game. They literally play with flags, and a lot of people are complaining that that's what actual NFL games are going to be now. And, you know, I get the distinction of like, okay, we want to prioritize player safety because these are, you know, the people you're putting on the field. These are the people helping selling merchandise and putting butts in the seats. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, it is a sport. It's kind of what you sign up for. People in the pro wrestling business, we'll talk about a wrestling topic later in the show. Like people sign up for wrestling knowing what they're going to get into. I feel like football is the same way, where you're signing up and you know there's a potential somebody's going to grab you and they can't pull you down, and they're trying to save the game, make a playoff game, win the Super Bowl, and they're going to have to pull you down by any means necessary. And I think they'll still keep the they'll still keep the hip drop tackle if it means not letting the other team score a touchdown. The other thing that was mentioned and changed is the new kickoff rule. And there's a lot of different things about this. There's going to be new alignments on the kickoff rule. There's no fair catches anymore, but touchbacks go to the 30-yard line instead of the 25. So I think it could allow more offense with these new rules. Mike, I'll start with you. Kickoffs, I mean, when I started watching it, it was touchbacks at the 20, now it's 25, now it's at the 30.
I don't understand what is the point of this? Why would you even change something that did not need to be changed? Like what is so wrong with a kickoff that you have to add 5 yards now to the touchback? Seems to me this is a coordinated effort for the NFL to have more scoring in their games.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Wayne?
So.
Yeah, I mean, I might be in the minority about this, but I like the new rule. I was a fan of the XFL last year. This was something they were doing with their league, and it kept it exciting and kept the game flowing. And, you know, I want to see them run the ball out. I want to see more plays. I want to see more offense. Personally, I like the rule. It keeps the game going at a good pace.
Des?
I mean, honestly, the kickoff has been kind of pushed out of the game the past couple of years. Not really a major part of the game. Most kickoffs are touchbacks anyway. So if anything, it's an attempt to try to keep it part of the game. But the days of like seeing Deion Sanders high stepping down the field after returning a kickoff, or seeing a guy like a Devin Hester or a Dante Hall or something like that, those days are over. Like I was trying to read when we were reading this on Believe in Panthers, we were trying to figure out the rule. The kicker basically is at his 35. Everyone else is pushed upwards to like the other team's 35 and 30-yard line. So you're separated by 5 yards, and you can't move on that line until either a player in the return zone catches it or it hits the ground. So you're just standing there until you see the ball hit the ground or touch somebody. Then you can go run top speed 5 yards to hit the guy in front of you. But the thing that we kind of realized, there's no one back there once you get past that first line. Like if everybody's up on the line and one juke move and you're past the guy, the only person back there is the kicker, and he's way back at the 35-yard line. So either you're going to start seeing some jacked up Pat McAfee type kickers start entering the league that are just basically enforcers, and you're going to start seeing $50 million, kickers because they're going to become so important, or this rule is just going to be dumb. And it's in the XFL. I know they use it there. And I know it's trying to prevent concussions and stuff like that, but it's a wait and see for me because the kickoff had already been kind of kicked out of the game anyway. So let's see if it does something for it.
And we mentioned XFL, like they're combining with the USFL this spring, and they do this kickoff rule. I like that. Like, let that be the UFL's identity, and let the NFL's identity of what we've known and loved for years and years be that identity. I don't see too many like injuries on kickoffs nowadays than we used to. I feel like it's a little over exaggerated with the kickoff safety. That might just be my personal opinion. But I did a study in community college where like we had to like study about like the concussions and like the player safety and how to, maneuver all this. At the end of the day, again, you're signing up for this sport. If you're a special teams guy, you're like bottom of the roster. You're just lucky to be on an NFL team. And this is how you like move yourself up on a roster and make yourself valuable to a team. Like this is part of your job.
I don't know if this is breaking news or not.
What?
But The Athletic is reporting United States presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not expected to name Aaron Rodgers as his running mate, according to the New York Times. That just broke
that's
2
good.
minutes ago. Yeah, so good luck.
I mean,
Jets. Go Jets, go. So
no starting vice president QB1 this year for the Jets and or RFK. I mean, that's
so
okay.
It popped up as breaking on my Twitter. I was like, is that breaking news? But no.
I could say that he probably saw Rodgers take a few steps and he's like, no, I don't trust him to make the next one. So he's looking elsewhere. What? Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. Rooting for you. Derek Pauly comment on the YouTube channel, horse collar tackle. I can understand. Hip drop, I'm not so sure. Hopefully he's talking about understanding the banning of it.
Yeah.
I remember the horse collar tackle getting banned. It was about it's about 15 years ago that happened, give or take. And yeah, that's a dangerous pulling the guy from behind. You guys can comment whether you're watching on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I believe them all. Comments can pop up on the screen. But yeah, as I mentioned, we have a wrestling panel. And so we're doing a new segment on Tuesdays called Top Rope Tuesday. If you haven't watched Raw, I apologize, but that was perhaps the greatest Raw of Triple H's era. Yeah. And it continues to build onto WrestleMania. That's a week from this weekend. And I know Mike's going to WrestleMania here in a couple weeks. That's why he's got the hat. He might have some other apparel coming in very soon. I'm super excited about that. But there were some big matches that were built up from last night and over the weekend on SmackDown. Some of the matches that stick out are Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman on night 1. Of course, that leads into Cody Rhodes challenging Roman Reigns night 2. Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley was built up last night, as well as Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre and potentially CM Punk being on commentary for that match. So I'm just wanting to ask you guys, we're a week and a half away. I think they've done an incredible job building this up. And I just want to ask, what match are you most excited for after the build-up these past few weeks? Mike, you hosted Mouthing Off with Mike. Your episode drops tomorrow. I want to get your opinion before that drops.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one because this is like the first time for like a WrestleMania that I can confidently say that I'm excited for almost every single match. Every match has an effective build. There's an effective storyline. There's no dead air. Now, if you're a wrestling fan, you're watching Out of Pocket on the socials, you know that we went years upon years of this week of WrestleMania. The week before, it was essentially dead air. There was no build, there was no action happening. It was okay. Your WrestleMania matches, the feud, why you're doing it, and that's pretty much it. Everything else was kind of filler for these 2 weeks of television going into WrestleMania. Up until last year, with Triple H, finally kind of taking more of the control over. Personally, if I were to say, the match I'm most excited about, I have to say definitely Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman. There's a lot on the stake here for WWE and the future of WWE's championship when it comes to the Undisputed Universal Championship and the way that they've been able to bleed all of the stories together with Cody, with Seth, with Drew, with CM Punk now as of last night, with The Rock, with Roman. It's working fantastic.
I'm kind of surprised to see CM Punk actually looks like he is getting involved and looks like he is getting involved with the world title match. Wayne, what's your thoughts? What match are you most looking forward to based on how they've built this up?
I agree. I'm looking forward to the Seth and Cody and Reigns and Rock match the most. I mean, the build-up's just too great. So much things going on there. For the longest time, I told you WWE was planting those little seeds to make you wonder what exactly was going on. And after last night, there's no way The Rock is a double agent for Cody. It's not happening. It's not happening at all. It's some of the best TV we've seen from WWE in a long time. And surprisingly, too, because the fight card wasn't even that great. There was nothing about that fight card that screamed greatness to me last night. But the way they executed everything throughout the whole show was just they told a story the entire time. It was fantastic.
Wayne, you make a good point. I'm trying to think of all the matches they had. They had
there's about
Candice
five total
LeRae.
matches. There's about 5 total matches, and there was about 2 20 to 30 minute talking segments. So yeah,
it was an hour and a half between one match.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just which McIntyre
and the women didn't have that much time either.
Yeah, McIntyre and CM Punk and Seth, that felt so real. It didn't feel like it was scripted or anything. They were just shooting off at each other. It was fantastic.
And usually when wrestling shows don't allot enough time for matches or even a lot of time for women's matches, you hear fans get upset. I think that's the complete opposite after last night's Raw because they knew they had to build up to WrestleMania about a week and a half away now that everybody's come across joyful. Des, I know you've gotten into wrestling now. Remember on the score one time where, Brett's like, hey, you can have your segment and you had no idea what we were talking about. And then I started talking some wrestling and then you popped up with the Hurt Business and everything, which they kind of done a little bit that with the Street Profits. But I know you've gotten into wrestling a lot recently, especially with the Bloodline story. What match are you most intrigued about going into next weekend?
Oh, well, I mean, I've been here since NWO. Well, really, I've been here since the 80s. So, I've always been a wrestling fan. It just ebbs and flows in terms of how much I pay attention to it and what's going on. I did not watch all of Raw last night. I usually watch it the next day on Hulu when I get home with everything. However, I did see the Seth Rollins Punk McIntyre segment on YouTube last night. And when I woke up this morning, I read the synopsis of what happened regarding the blood. So I know what happened. I got to agree. I never thought that Rock was working with Cody in the first place. That's the match that I'm looking at too. They've hyped Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman. It was almost hyperbole at first. They're the biggest tag team match of all time and all this other stuff. I'm like, is it though? But now they're kind of building it so that it's okay, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing this almost more than the main event on night 2 because Roman Reigns is winning on night 2. Whatever happens, he's still going to win night 2. I did watch the Pat McAfee interview from Friday, Mike, with Roman Reigns, and it cemented in my head. Not only is he going to win night 2, but this isn't Cody's story. This is the Bloodline story. It's been the Bloodline story for the past 4 years, and like Roman said, Cody is just a chapter in that story. It's not going to end with him. They're spelling it out for you, really. I just feel I don't know what's going to happen in this match. I felt like Cody and Seth were going to win the match, and it kind of pans out they probably will, especially after what Rock did to Cody on Monday night. It would make sense for the faces to kind of get their get back on the tag match. No Bloodline rules set up for the next night, and then the scenario I mentioned happens on night 2 where no Bloodline members are allowed at the ring, but Jey Uso ends up coming out and super kicking Cody in the face, gives Roman the belt, he rejoins the Bloodline, because technically he's not in the Bloodline right now. So Roman said something on that Pat McAfee show Friday where he was they were talking about Jimmy and Jay, and he was Jay gave up paradise, and one day he'll realize he gave up paradise. And he said a line to me. He was like, people don't really realize all it takes is for us to do like that. And everybody took it meaning like they could take Jay out or whatever, and he rode that way with it. I think when he said that, he meant all it takes is for us to be like that, and Jay's back in the bloodline. Like, that's what I think he meant. But the crowd took it a different way. And he went with the crowd from that, saying that, oh, I can't kill my cousin and that kind of thing. I think what he was implying was that they are on top of this story. Like, they're the ones that are planning this out. So I'm looking at Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman, although they are finally putting some spice on the Rollins-McIntyre title match because it's felt like an afterthought up until really last night.
Yeah, especially with CM Punk being included in that.
Now
I know
he's in there. Now it's spicier, yeah.
Yeah, I know Mike definitely disagrees with you on the Cody not winning on night 2. I know he wants to say his piece.
You can disagree all you want.
No, so I actually what I want to say is I don't even hey, look, I honestly don't know how that main event is going to go down Sunday night. I honestly, it's a coin flip for me at this point. Part of me says Cody's going to win. Part of me says Roman's going to win. A part of me says, how about I'm gonna let it see what happens when I'm sitting there Sunday night, and if I'm dejected as I leave Lincoln Financial Field, then so be it. There's ways to cope with that. What I want to say is everyone keeps talking about Roman in the sense of he's not showing up. He's not pulling his weight in the build. I've seen that a lot on social media. And I feel like people need to kind of turn their lenses to something else here. When you look at this whole bloodline story and you look at what we're seeing with Roman and The Rock, especially The Rock right now, The Rock showed up more than Roman has in 2024. And The Rock showed up more than Roman has in the last 3 weeks alone. People are failing to realize, like, why would Roman not be involved, right? Why wouldn't he be more involved, right? Because that's what we've seen from him this whole time. He doesn't get involved in the dirty side of the business. He has his family. He has his family take care of it. And The Rock called himself the final boss, right? The Rock even said, like, I'm the final boss. Everything comes past me at the end. But The Rock is doing Roman's bidding unintentionally, and that's why The Rock and Roman's just sitting back, because Rock's doing exactly what Roman would have had Solo and Jimmy do. Attack Cody, be a menace to his allies. They're doing it. And The Rock went out of his way to beat down Cody on Raw because The Rock knows how much a threat Cody is to the bloodline and Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is looking right past Cody Rhodes. I already beat Dusty's kid. Forget about it. He's no match for me. That's what people are sleeping on. The fact that Roman's overlooking Cody, and Cody's changed these last few years, this whole last year. Everything's changed. He's got allies now. Potentially, maybe Jay turns on him. Who knows, right? That's a thought I've had these last couple of weeks too, since Des dropped that in my head. But I will say people need to not overlook the sense of Roman is overlooking Cody, and The Rock knows that Cody's the real threat here.
See, I don't even know if he's overlooking Cody, but Roman said it. It's like, Cody, you're an idiot. You're focused on the wrong thing. Like, you're supposed to be fighting me, and you're out here battling my cousin. Well, you're out here talking about my cousin, not me. Like, what are you doing? You got Seth Rollins making your decisions for you. Like, you're an idiot. Like, that's literally how he looks at him as, we shouldn't even be doing this match. It should be me against The Rock, and this should be the final chapter of my book.
And that's a big thing about it. It's like, in his mind, he wants The Rock. It was The Rock all along, but now it's not. And because The Rock can come in and swing around his weight, Cody won the Rumble. Like he said it. Cody said it exactly. They explained everything. They explained the whisper in the ear at SmackDown when he stepped down. Cody was being conned by the biggest con man in pro wrestling, The Rock.
The final boss.
The final boss, exactly. He's telling Cody, well, come on, Cody. The fans want me. Yeah, they want me and versus my cousin. Come on, step down. Let be a family. You know about family and wrestling. And he tried to spin this whole thing. That's what I really love about it. There's these little details and these little nuances that they're doing. And like I said, everything's connected. So it's like Rollins and McIntyre. This title match was overlooked because I think WWE was telling you Rollins and McIntyre from the point of view of Rollins, because Rollins was overlooking McIntyre. It wasn't the fact that the booking was overlooking him. It was Rollins. Rollins even said it. You're last on my list, buddy. I got to worry about Roman, The Rock, my two knees, my back, and then you.
That's the one. That's the one that I'm thinking could lose his title because he's overlooking his opponent. Like, it's Seth and Drew McIntyre, and I could see CM Punk maybe costing Seth the match, which would be crazy
I could see that
for
too.
Drew doing what he's doing, like over the past couple of weeks. But or maybe cost maybe Seth retains. I don't know, but that changed a little bit there. Going back to Roman though in the bloodline, if you haven't watched the Pat McAfee interview on Friday, I would definitely go watch it because it's kayfabe. It's kind of, you know, behind the scenes a little bit, but Roman doesn't really do behind the scenes stuff like that. So when he's saying something, pay attention to what he's saying. Like he's giving you the narrative of what they're doing. And I thought they were closer to the end of the story. And he's like, I'm 39 years old. Like, we're just getting started. Like this, we can run this thing for a long time. And he's right. Business is booming. Business has never been better. And it's because he's been the champ for 4 years. Like when he took over, we still weren't in the building yet. We were still, you know, in the Thunderdome or whatever. Like so all the way back in March 2020 or whatever it was to now, the wrestling business has ran through him. It would be stupid of WWE to take it off of him right now just to give it back to him in 5 months or whatever when the Cody reign gets boring to everybody that wants Cody to have it. Because that's exactly what will happen. It happens every time a babyface ends up winning at WrestleMania. You get your honeymoon period right after, and then you guys get tired of him. You get tired of the face. It's the chase that you like. You don't like the fact that he's you like the fact he's chasing.
And a couple things to note here. First of all, Mike has changed his stance. He was 100% Cody, and now that he says it's a coin flip,
Yeah,
tells you.
Well,
how
I mean,
great
we
the
don't really
storytelling is.
know. Yeah,
we do,
just,
but we don't.
I still say I obviously want Cody to win. I'm just saying, like, in the sense of like, if you're looking at it from like a sports analysis standpoint, like, yeah, you can't really tell like right now who's going to come out on top. Right now, the Bloodline, you know, came out on top of Monday Night Raw, but that doesn't mean Cody and his allies and Seth and Jay don't come out on top Friday night on SmackDown. So it's like they're keeping everybody involved. You know, like I said, past years, this week would have been the dead week for WWE. You know, you know, well, the go home shows are next week, so we'll tune in next week. This week,
That wasn't the case.
Triple H hits you with, if you missed this week, you missed key critical points in this story. Exactly. So I truthfully think Cody will walk out of there WrestleMania because I think the Bloodline story can pivot away from the championship. The championship doesn't need to be involved with the Bloodline. You can do Rock and Roman without the championship.
No. That's a big part you're missing because that's the one thing everybody forgets about this. This only works if Roman is the champ. Like this only works if Roman is champion because the entire story has been him as champion feeding his family. If he no longer has that belt, he's no longer the tribal chief. He's no longer as powerful. It all centers around him.
So the championship makes him the tribal chief.
It makes him the face of the WWE.
Tribal
right,
chief.
But even still, though, he can argue that he is the tribal chief without the title.
He's our tribal chief. That's the word to use.
My tribal
chief.
His tribal chief. I don't blame him. I don't know.
It loses its luster. Like he has to have that belt for the whole story to work, and that's why he's kept it so long. Otherwise, they would have took it off of him with Drew, with Sammy, with Jay, with Kevin Owens, with Cena, with any of them could have had it for a bit just for him to win it back. It's quantity, it's quality, not quantity. He doesn't care about 16 title reigns. He just wants one big one.
I mean, that's back in the day. I don't know if fans and people can take another year of, you know, here's Roman every 3 months and
totally fine.
Yeah, but like that's boring. I want to see new contenders. I want to see because Roman's run through the entire roster, and if he does beat Cody twice,
they've saved some people.
So you have Randy, AJ Styles.
They specifically have kept him and Bobby Lashley away from each other. Like their paths have not crossed. AJ Styles is out there. Eventually, Braun Strowman's supposed to be on the way back. He'll be out there. Tama Tonga's coming into the WWE. He'll be out there. And you got guys like Braun Breaker. Like there's all kinds of guys that they could actually do this with. But you know, we'll see. He hasn't ran through the whole roster. He's ran
I
through
will say,
enough of it.
if Cody does lose at WrestleMania, then you're gonna have there might be a similar fate of what happened to him in AEW because the finish the story is the strongest thing right now, the strongest movement, you know, besides the bloodline. And if the fans who, you know, are whatever Cody crybabies, I don't think I'm in that bracket, but hey, if I am, then oh well. But people are going to get upset and they're going to either turn on Cody, they're going to turn on WWE, or it works in their favor at the end of the day. And they end up turning that hard on the bloodline, and the bloodline do become mega heels. And, you know, it's established for the next 8 years, and I'll be married with kids by the time Roman drops the title, I guess.
Well, I'm rooting for you to be married with kids, Mike. But people ask, you know, why you talk about wrestling on a sports radio show. One, our numbers pick up when we're talking wrestling on a sports show, but also like, why was Roman Reigns on the Pat McAfee show? on Friday. Like, this is why Roman as champ is good for business, because now all of a sudden you have Iowa Hawkeye students are standing there in awe, putting up their ones for a professional wrestler that they didn't even know 10 years ago.
Yep.
Now that the business is booming, and now that WWE's at its peak, AEW's at its peak, I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow on Drop the Mic, which is why we don't have Al Pocket on Wednesdays. Mike obviously drops his shows as part of the Wrestling Wednesday lineup on Wednesdays as well. He has a lot of thoughts. He and I usually disagree, which is pretty fun, but you can go. He has done incredible stuff, except his Jericho take, and that's the one thing.
If you're listening, if you're watching, you already know that the Jericho verse has claimed far too many victims, and the momentum of wrestlers has been halted. Takeshita, Adam Cole, and now Hook. We're gonna get into this another day. But yes.
We'll get on to one of our wrestling pods and argue this. But before we go, we did want to do a That Aged Well segment. And I got a different question for each of you this time. I'll start with Wayne, because I actually wanted to ask Des this question yesterday, but I was like, well, Wayne's a Ravens guy. Let me ask him instead. Wayne, Odell Beckham is currently a free agent. He played for the Ravens last year. Would you welcome him back to Baltimore? And do you believe it actually happens?
I would welcome him back, but I don't believe it's happening. He's already said his goodbyes. He said it looks like he might be going down to Miami. I don't see it happening. I think he's good for morale. I think the young guys look forward to having a veteran on a team that they can look up to and they've admired throughout their careers. So I don't mind him being on the team. I was actually there for the Ravens-Seahawks game when he got his first touchdown last year on his birthday, so that was pretty cool. I think he's done a lot of growing up over the years. I think he's a positive influence. I'd welcome him back, but it's not happening.
Odell being the third option in Miami behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is scary. Mike, you're going to be there in Philly for WrestleMania as well as the Hall of Fame is that weekend. Paul Heyman is the headliner. Who do you think inducts Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame?
It's tough, man. I had made the joke and I said Paul Heyman himself, because I mean, who's more prestigious to induct him in than Paul Heyman? Could we see maybe some ECW guys come in? Possibly. I really don't know, man. I really don't. This is a tough one. Maybe Roman does it. Maybe Roman does induct him.
He mentioned it on Pat McAfee, but he didn't sound like he was going to be the one. He just said whoever it is that does it. And the same thing, actually, they asked the question on the panel, should Paul Heyman induct himself? Like, who's the better person to do it than Paul Heyman? I said Steve Austin, just because he kind of resurrected his career.
Yeah.
When he left WCW and got fired, ECW picked him up and kind of created the Stone Cold character that he amplified once he got to WWE. But I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know who would. Maybe I don't know.
I've thought about this for a few weeks. I even talked about it in this week's episode coming out when I looked at the Hall of Fame class. Heyman's a tough one, man, because it's like you obviously know the person you want to do it. Like we all know it. We're obviously not going to say it, but with him being,
exiled,
yes, ostracized. Yeah, there we go. One of those. Fill in the blank. Yeah, I think a Steve Austin would make sense. Maybe you could say Triple H does it because Triple H is now the head guy of everything right now. But I like Steve Austin as a good shout, but I really want them to do Paul Heyman inducts himself. That right there would be entertaining, I think.
Hey, he could introduce himself. CM Punk will also be in Philly.
Good shout.
Ooh, there you go.
You're wearing the hoodie. That's where
wearing the hoodie.
You were going with
seriously,
it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I forget. So that's just such a blur in my mind, dude, of the CM Punk Paul Heyman guy era.
But Des, your question as we wrap up Out of Pocket for today, and we'll do our wrestling pods tomorrow. I'll do Cat Cave tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Out of Pocket Thursday, same time. Is Sami Zayn the one to end Gunther's title reign at WrestleMania 40?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I would think if anybody would be Chad Gable, but they're not, unless they're going to make it a triple threat at the last minute, which I don't think they will. I don't think Gunther's loss should be to Sami Zayn. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Gunther. They're kind of getting to a point where it's like, now Gunther is running out of people to fight. And they may have to maybe trade him to SmackDown to get some new opponents like a Bobby Lashley or whoever. But I don't know. WWE, that could be the surprise. That could be the one because Gunther's clearly ready to move up to the main event stage here and bring Imperium with him at that. So if I'll put it to you like this, if Seth loses that belt on night 2, then I would have expected Gunther to have lost the Intercontinental belt too, because it'll put him into the playing field of whoever is the new champion. They're going to need challengers, and Gunther's probably going to be contender number 1 just for what he did with the IC belt. So maybe Sammy's been IC champ before, but Gunther's been champ for what, going on 670 days or something like that. So
it's going to be,
I would be more surprised if Gunther loses than I would anybody else. Well,
even Roman.
Except for Roman. Yeah, excluding Roman.
Des is like, do not touch Roman. Do not touch our tribal chief.
I mean, how many times they got to tell us, like, they're cooking filet mignon here. They're not cooking
your tribal chief.
My tribal chief.
Our tribal chief.
I don't acknowledge him. I don't acknowledge him. Never.
Raise your ones. Don't do this number. Just raise your ones.
It's always Cody Rhodes season, baby.
Oh wow, Cody Funko Pop right there. Yeah, guys, this has been Out of Pocket. As I mentioned, we'll skip tomorrow. We have wrestling pods, including mine, Drop the Mic, and Mike's Mouth It Off with a Mic. Wrestling podcast dropping tomorrow. Cat Cave will drop tomorrow. Happy birthday, Ryan, one of my co-hosts from the Cat Cave. But until Thursday, this has been Out of Pocket for myself, Mike Mealy, Wayne Thomas, producer Desmond Johnson. Raise your ones to the sky, and we will see you back Thursday, 12:30 on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis.
You see what Axe Cuddy fans go through, huh? You see what we go through, guys. Remember, finish the story season.